Hey everyone, it's Jazz Waffles, and today's video is going to be the reason why I quit my last job. I told you guys I was going to make a story about this, and a few of you guys said that you really want to hear the story about why I quit my last job. So it's kind of a long story, so let me just get right into this. Some of you guys know that I was working a seasonal job at the pumpkin patch, and even though it was a seasonal job, it was still a job. For those of you who have been with me for a long time, I started working there last year. Last year was my first year working at the pumpkin patch, and it was for the whole month of October. So the boss and his wife are really close to my uncle, which is the one that got me the job last year. Okay, I'm gonna give the bosses names. Let's just call them, you guys know Bob and Larry from the VeggieTales? Let's just call them that because it's actually very close to their names. So let's just call the main boss, Bob, and his wife, Larry. Let's just call them that. And it's, for those of you who know, that's actually really close to their names. My uncle, I'm not gonna say his name, but he was telling me all year that Bob, it's gonna be really hard not saying their actual names, but apparently Bob was like, oh, is your niece ready, because we're gonna start the pumpkin patch soon, like, is she ready for this, is she ready for that, is she gonna be working for us? And so like all year I was so hyped to start working there. Even though it's just a once-a-month job, it was so fun last year, so I was looking forward to it all year to start working there. I believe it was a week before they actually set up the whole pumpkin patch, Bob and Larry went to a hotel that's right next to the pumpkin patch, and so they called my uncle, and my uncle called me so that we can go talk about like when I start. And because I was still, like, I was finishing school at the time, but I was still kind of in school, so we needed to figure out and like arrange when I was gonna start working. So I ended up going to the hotel. We met up, we hung out for a bit, and it was actually pretty fun. Larry gave me her phone number, and she told me to call her like 2 days before the pumpkin patch started. So I called her 2 days before, and she didn't answer. Like, nobody answered. I had Bob's phone number too, and nobody answered. So I noticed, because I go to Walmart a lot, and it's like right in the pumpkin patch, set up right next to Walmart. And so I go there and I see it's like started running, so I go and I'm just like, hey, I'm just like, hey, when can I start? And they were like, oh, it's kind of slow right now, so once we start getting more busy and we start getting like more customers and people coming, then we'll call you like once it gets busy. So I'm like, all right, you know, that's understandable. It started October 1st. Like, people aren't going to start getting pumpkins until later on during the month, or, you know. 2 to 3 days passed, and my aunt called me and she was like, hey, Bob and Larry are asking for you. They're gonna ask when, they were asking when you're gonna come in. And I'm just like, okay, well, they said that they were gonna call me, they never called me. So, and I called them, but they don't answer, so I'll just go, you know, I'll go show up. I went, I saw Bob, and I asked him, hey, when am I gonna start? Like, when can I start? Because I was so excited about working there because I loved it so much last year. I just wanted to start already. And so Bob was like, oh, like, I'm setting up the schedules right now, but come tomorrow at 12. So yeah, that's what happened that day. The next day I went to the pumpkin patch at 12 and I started working. They changed up a lot of things this year that weren't there last year, which kind of made it a little like kind of harder to work there, because at the time that I was working, which was from 12 to 4, a lot of people weren't really going because all the kids were in school, so there wasn't a lot going on, and there wasn't a lot of things to like be done there because everything was already done. Like, everything was set up, everything was organized, so there wasn't really anything to do. I tried making myself busy. I was, you know, if there was like trash on the ground, I picked it up. As soon as people came, I like went to them, and I'm just like, well, you can, there's like all these things. I had a lot of questions, so I'm like explaining to them what there was, bounce houses, rides, how much pumpkins were, and all that stuff. I explained everything to them. My first day of working there, which I said again, that was at 12. There was another guy that was working there. I forget what his name was, but it was his first year and his first day there as well. But it was my second year, but both our first days. And so I knew that there was a lot of things changed from the year before. So I went to him, I introduced myself, and I asked him, I was like, do you know how the games work? Do you know how much these are? Like, you know, I asked him all those questions. And he said that nobody explained to him how anything worked. So I stood there and I was like, all right, so for the games, they have to do this to win this, and the bounce houses cost this many tickets. Or if you're gonna go to the petting zoo thing, like, watch them. Like, I explained everything to him, and he was like, okay, like, that helped me a lot because nobody explained anything to me. So I'm just like, all right, no problem. If you have any questions, come ask me. Again, there was nobody there. it wasn't busy at all because everybody was at school. Honestly, there was nothing to do. Like, nothing. I remember I just said his name. I remember Bob coming around and he told me, he was like, hey, look around, there's a lot to do. And I said, what do you want me to do? Like, I wasn't rude about it, but like, all right, like if there's something to do, tell me so I can do it. And he said, go around, check the pumpkins. And I asked him, I said, like, check the pumpkins for what? All the pumpkins looked fine. And he just said, walk around and check the pumpkins. So I'm just like, okay, well, I'm gonna go see if there's anything wrong with the pumpkins. So I'm just walking around checking all the pumpkins, making them look nicer, you know. And I noticed that the other guy, the one that I was talking to you guys about before, he ended up getting sent home because he wasn't doing anything. But then again, nobody told him what he was supposed to do, and there was no customers there for him to really do anything. So he ended up getting sent home. So I'm just like, okay, I can't get sent home. I can't. So I need to make myself more busy. So there was a ring toss game, and the things were like out of place and everything. So I'm like, all right, perfect, this kind of takes a while, so I'm just gonna do this until more people come. And he came to me, Bob came to me and said, okay, go do, like, he was telling me like to go check the pumpkins. Like, check the pumpkins for what? Like, what? Like, tell me exactly what you want me to check the pumpkins for, because there's nothing wrong with them. So luckily more people started coming, and it was a older guy with his little daughter. She was about 4 years old, and she wanted to go like to the bounce house and go to they told me they wanted to go to like the bounce house, the slide, and then the petting zoo, and then they were done. Nobody else was doing anything. It was me and these two other people that Bob knew really well, and they never, honestly, they never did anything. They never helped, they never cleaned, they literally just walked around doing nothing and talking to each other. So I was really the only one actually like helping the people. We were doing everything that the guy and his daughter wanted to do, and then we got to the petting zoo. And so I'm like watching them, because we have to stand there while the people are in the petting zoo, making sure that they don't hurt or chase or do anything with animals. So I'm standing there, you know, waiting for them until they want to come out of the petting zoo. So they start coming out, and he said, all right, so now she wants to ride the swing. And that morning I was actually trained on how to like do the swings, because it's like a circle thing and then like a whole bunch of swings hanging down, and then they like go in a circle. So I was trained that morning how to work like that kind of stuff. So I was like, all right, I'll go work it for you, because there was nobody standing in that area. So I was like, okay, I'll go do that for you. I start walking to it, and I'm walking with them, but I'm like obviously a little, I'm not like totally with them, because, you know, that's not how it was. I was walking with them but a little apart, because I didn't want to be so close to them, because I don't personally know them. So as I'm walking to them, Bob comes to me, and he comes and he was like, hey Jasmine, stop standing around. And I'm just like I couldn't say anything to him, obviously, because he's my boss. But I told him, I was like, oh, like I'm walking with them to the swings because his daughter wants to go on the swing. And he looked at me like, okay, like do something, right? So I'm just like, okay, well, like in my mind I'm just like, all right, I'm not standing around. And that was like the first day that I was working there. I believe that was like October 3rd or 4th, I'm not sure. Anyways, that kind of made me mad in a way, because if he was watching, he would have known that I wasn't standing around. I was going to help them. And by the time I got back to them, the guy and his daughter, like the guy was looking at me like, okay, like I thought you were gonna help us, but my boss took me to the side and was like, stop standing around. Anyways, I like ignored that. I went and I did the whole slide thing, and then they ended up leaving. So I got through that day. So then the second day I went back into work, same times, 12 to 4. And it usually doesn't start getting busy until like 4:30ish. So like I was there trying to make myself busy like until that time came, and it took so long. So the second day, there's like so many more things that happened. I'm just like not explaining every single little detail, or else this video would be really long. But the second day, there was a lot of people around, maybe around one or two. There was a lot of people there, which was like honestly really good, because there was like people there. So it was a lot of little kids. All of them wanted to go into the same bounce house, and I'm just like, all right, that's perfect, because I can watch all of them, because we're supposed to watch them. So all the little kids wanted to go into the same exact bounce house, which was good because while the kids were in the bounce house, we had to stay there and watch them. We had to make sure that they weren't hurting each other, that their shoes weren't on, you know, all this stuff. So there was, again, me and the 2 other workers that weren't doing anything. And so I'm just like, all right, perfect. Like, at least they all want to go on to the same thing and I'm like not all over the place. So all the kids were in the same bounce house. I'm watching them. And then a dad and his son go onto the slide that's right next to the bounce house. So I'm just like, all right, looking around, trying to get someone else to at least watch them while I'm watching the kids in the bounce house, and nobody came. So I'm like, okay, I can't leave to call someone and I can't yell to call someone, so I'm just gonna try to watch them both because nobody's coming. So I'm watching the kids, and the guy goes on the guy and his son go on the bounce house, and the guy and the son go on the slide. And the slide, it cost 2 tickets each time you go down, which is honestly a really big ripoff. Anyways, he paid for 3 times, so that was 6 tickets, and he went. And so as he was going the 3rd time, a lady that was like one of the moms from the kids that was in the bounce house, she came to me and she asked me, she was like, hey, how much are the pumpkins? Like, are they for decoration or are you guys for selling them? And I said, we're selling them. And she said, for how much? And I told her that it depends on the size of the pumpkin that they want, but if she wants to know the exact price, she has to go up to the front and ask them, because I wasn't working with the pumpkins. As I'm talking to her, Bob and Larry come. And also the other 2 workers that weren't doing anything before also came with them. And Larry started watching the kids, and she was watching the guy that his son went down the slide. And then the other 2 workers there were like literally just standing there staring at me like if I did something horribly wrong. So Bob takes me to the side, not so far from the customers, which he should have taken me farther because he was really honestly unprofessional about this whole thing. And apparently, when the lady was asking a question, the boy went on the side one more time without paying. Which honestly, okay, I obviously didn't run the pumpkin patch, and like obviously it's like a policy that they have to pay, but I'm not gonna tell you guys how much the tickets were because I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. But like, is it really a big deal that a little kid doesn't pay to go on the slide one more time? Like, does it really hurt the pumpkin patch? Do they lose so much money because he didn't pay to go on one more time? Like, if I saw him go on, I probably would have said something. But since I was helping this lady and nobody else was helping me watch the kids, he ended up going on without me knowing one more time. So I'm trying to answer this lady's question. And race is gonna come into this, but I'm Mexican. The lady was Mexican, okay? Bob and Larry are white. So Bob takes me to the side. And he pretty much asks me what the hell I'm doing. And I told him I'm watching the kids and I'm watching this boy on the slide too because nobody else is helping. And he proceeds to start yelling at me, telling me, did you know that he went on 4 times instead of 3 times? We can see you from all the way on the other side that you're not doing your job. And he said, he looked at the lady and he looked at me. He said, I don't know if this is your family or what. And I'm pretty sure he said that because we are Mexican, which honestly, I think that's a little bit racist because since we're both Mexican, he assumed that we're from the same family, which didn't sit well with me. Moving on, he told me, he's like, I don't know if you guys are family or what, but you can't be standing around talking to customers. And I told him, I was like, she just wanted to know how much the pumpkins were. And he told me, he just started saying like all this stuff to me. I honestly don't even remember what he said because like it takes a lot for me to like actually cry. Like it takes a lot for people to start making me cry. But when he started yelling at me, like it was really embarrassing that I started tearing up. I'm just like okay, like I'm trying to stop myself from crying because of how much he's yelling at me. And at the end, all I remember was him saying, so why don't you just take your ass home? Which again, I feel like that was very unprofessional because 1, he shouldn't be talking to his employees like that. 2, he doesn't know the whole story that nobody else was helping me. I was watching about 5 kids in the bounce house and the kid right here, and he made it such a big deal that the kid didn't pay to go on the side one more time. So he ends up telling me to take my ass home, which all the customers also heard him say that. And he started yelling at me about all this other stuff. And so at the end, I'm just like, okay, like I asked them, I was like, do you want me to go home or can I stay? Because I really didn't want to go home, but at the same time I didn't want to stay there. But I did want to make money. He looked at me very mad. He had a mad look on his face, and he said, go ask Larry. So I go to Larry, his wife, and I ask, do you want me to go home or can I stay? And she said, what did Bob say? And I told her, I was like, he told me to ask you. And she looked at me mad, and she was like, you can stay, we'll give you another chance, but do your job right. And so I'm just like, you know, you can't talk back to your boss. Like, I wanted to so bad, but at the same time I felt like if I was even gonna talk back out, like my tears would have just started pouring out because everything he was yelling at me. So they left, and the same people were there, and they were all staring at me, which was really, really embarrassing. And one of the girls came to me and she was like, is that your boss? And I said, yeah. And she was like, did you get in trouble? And I said, yes. And then I stepped away a little bit farther than them because apparently I can't talk to customers, which is really stupid because how are we not going to talk to customers without being rude? You get me? So honestly, I feel like they were very unprofessional about it. They didn't even know the whole story. I couldn't talk back to my boss or anything. So after that, I had one day off, I believe. Like the next day was my day off, so I couldn't wait to go home. And like I said, there was a lot of more things that happened, but honestly I think that it's like when I told my friends about this story, they were just like, oh, they were probably like that to you because you're young. And like I understand that because a lot of teenagers, like when they get like their jobs and stuff, even though it wasn't my first job, like I've had jobs before that, they think that like teenagers are going to like not do their job right, or they're just gonna be messing around while they're working. But like that wasn't me, and they didn't see that. Honestly, they should have said something else to the other people that were there and weren't doing anything, because at least I tried like cleaning when there was nobody there, or I tried organizing the things to make them look a little nicer when they weren't there, and I attended to all the people that came in. So the next day I had the day off, and honestly I came home after work and I started crying. I was really mad. I was like, okay, I don't want to go there anymore. I do want to make money because I've been like waiting for this all year, but it's not the same as last year. So I was just mad about it the whole time. And then once it was time, like the day that I had to go to work, I told my mom, I was like, I don't want to go. And she was asking me why, and I told her that Bob told me to take my ass home. And after I told her those words, she was like, all right, don't go, you're not going to be working there anymore. And so honestly, I was like so relieved and happy about that, even though I like now after that I had to find another job, which I did. The experience there, horrible. And I had to go there I believe it was like the next week to pick up my check for what I worked those 2 days, which I mean it was like $80 something. But I went and they gave me like so much attitude and stuff when I never even did anything wrong. I called when I was gonna quit. I called Bob and Larry and none of them answered like usual, and I called them to tell them that I was gonna quit, and they didn't answer. But my uncle was also working there for like the weekends and stuff, so I just told my uncle, I was like, hey, can you tell them that I'm quitting because I'm not gonna work there anymore? And yeah, he did it, but I ended up quitting the job there. So yeah, I ended up applying to a lot of other places. I went job searching and everything. I applied to Amazon and got hired. So now I work at Amazon. If you guys didn't see my last video, that explains everything, I guess. Sorry if this video is long. If you guys want a part 2 about this story, like explaining more things that happened, then give this video a thumbs up or comment that down below. But I'm going to be vlogging tomorrow. Tomorrow should be really, really fun because I'm not going to spoil it for you guys, but Jessica and I are going on a trip, and so I'm going to be vlogging that. But I hope you guys enjoy. If you guys ever quit a job or anything, let me know in the comments below. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and always remember to stay jazzy.